And he uses lime cream hairdressing.
Bravo! You spotted the clippings and the smell. So, what do we have? A grey-haired intellectual who 3 years ago was well-to-do but has since fallen on hard times. He once had foresight, he now has less. His wife has ceased to love him, and it is doubtful if he has gas laid on in his house.
Oh, my dear Holmes, you're certainly joking.
Well, not in the least. You have the evidence.
Oh, come. Why intellectual? How can you possibly know about the man's financial standing?
Firstly, it is a matter of cubic capacity. A man with so large a brain must have something in it.
Oh, no. That's far from medically exact. There are some people with large heads who are congenital idiots.
True. But this man leads a sedentary life, indicated by the amount of domestic dust. When new, this hat was a very good one. Notice the quality of the ribbed silk band and the silk lining. He had the foresight to take precaution against the wind by having a hat securer fitted. But he has less foresight now, for when it broke, he did not have it repaired. A sedentary man with taste, foresight, and such cranial capacity is unlikely to be an idiot.
You have an answer for everything. But I notice you have avoided telling me about the man's wealth 3 years ago and poverty now.
Now, this once excellent hat is 3 years old. These flat brims curled at the edges only came into fashion then. If our man could afford such a hat 3 years ago, but has not bought another since, or replaced the securer, then he has surely come down in the world.
Yes, clear enough. But please, Holmes, just for my peace of mind, confound me further by telling me why his wife has ceased to love him.
Well, now, this hat has not been brushed for weeks. When a man is allowed to go about with such an accumulation of dust upon his hat, one fears he has lost his wife's affection. And that is what has happened to Mr. Henry Baker.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Henry Baker?
The name of the owner.
Oh, come now, Holmes, really, you go too far. To assume that the initials HB stand for... Well, I mean, they could equally stand for Hathaway Broughton. And anyway, he might be a bachelor.
Nay, that would be to neglect the evidence of the goose.
Goose?
Lost by the same man on the corner of Goode Street. It had a label round its neck marked to Mrs. Henry Baker.
You saw all this? Then you are involved in some crime.
No crime, Watson. 2 nights ago, Peterson, the commissioner, saw a man set upon by a couple of roughs. In defending himself, the man broke a shop window. When Peterson rushed up, they all fled.
Why? Why? I mean, surely this Mr. Henry Baker was the injured party.
Ah, but Peterson was in uniform and Baker had broken a window. Seeing an official-looking person running towards him, he panicked and took to his heels, leaving behind his hat and his Christmas dinner.
Where's this goose now?
Well, Peterson has it. I felt it a just reward for his honesty.
And you couldn't trace this Mr. and Mrs. Baker?
Well, as there are some 100 or more Henry Bakers in this city of ours, it is not easy to restore lost property to any one of them.
I wonder.
What?
Oh, nothing. You know, that wretched hat business has made me forget again.
Oh, forget what?
There's something I meant to give you before. It's a small present for Christmas.
My dear old friend. Why, this is so very kind of you. Would you mind? Oh, Watson. Oh, and I had so very nearly run out. Thank you.
Well, I'm afraid it's not your usual blend, that dreadful black shag, but I feel all like it.
My dear Watson, I'm at a loss.
Well, that's not like you. Oh, it's merely a token.
Yes, but I regret that the exchanging of presents at Christmas time is something about which I am notoriously lax.
My dear Holmes, it's of no matter. I wonder...
Yes?
I would greatly enjoy a fill of it.
Oh, why, of course.
Thank you. You know, there's still one thing about that hat business that puzzles me.
Oh, really? But it was merely an exercise.
Well, how do you know that this Mrs. Baker is not the man's mother?
Oh, she would be a very old lady.
Possibly, but she might still be able to eat goose.
Well, Baker is clearly middle-aged at least. If he is still living with his mother, they're either very fond of one another or he is unable to break free and she nags him. In any case, she'd never allow him to go about with his hat in that condition.
Suppose she were an invalid?
Then there would most certainly be a servant, and his mother would ensure that Henry's welfare was seen to. No, Mrs. Henry Baker is his wife.
You wait there. I can't have people just bursting in on
This
me.
is important.
Peterson!
Well,
Mrs. Hudson, what is
He
this?
just came rushing up,
I've
sir.
got to see Mr. Holmes.
Come in, man, and calm down.
Hello, Peterson.
I've got to see you, Mr. Holmes. It's a goose, sir.
Eh? What of it, then? Has it returned to life and flapped off through the kitchen window?
Oh, no, sir.
Are you sure you're not busy, sir?
Positive, Mrs. Hudson, thank you. Well?
You look at this. You see what my wife found in its crop.
Good heavens!
By Jove, Peterson. This is treasure trove indeed. I suppose you know what you've got.
Oh, that's a jewel, sir. It cut through glass like putty, sir. It scratched Mrs. Peterson's aquamarine pendant, what she had off her Aunt Betsy when she passed on some years back, sir. Scratched that and took no mark itself. That means that's a good stone, Mr. Holmes.
It is much more than a good stone. It is the stone.
It is not. It cannot be the Countess of Morca's blue carbuncle.
It is precisely that. This is the gem for which the Times has been carrying an advertisement every day for a week.
The reward is £1,000.
Yes, and that is not a 20th of its market price.
£1,000, sir? Great Lord of mercy.
Well, I'm sure it's very lovely, sir, but that does seem a lot of money.
Ah, but Mrs. Hudson, this stone is unique. No one has ever found another quite like it.
But how did it get into Peterson's goose?
Not Peterson's goose, but Mr. Henry Baker's. Now, Peterson,
Yes, sir?
will you go round to the advertising agency and have this put in the evening papers?
Very good, sir. Which papers would you like that to appear in, sir?
Oh, in the Globe, Star, Pall Mall, St. James's Gazette, Evening News, Standard, Echo, and any others which occur to you. Now, found at the corner of Gould Street, a goose and a black felt hat. Mr. Henry Baker can have the same by applying at number 221B, Baker Street. Yes, that is clear and concise. And this will cover the cost. Thank you.
So, what about the stones?
I will keep it for the time being. Thank you. Mrs. Hudson,
Yes, sir.
will you get Billy to run out and buy me a goose?
Oh, we already had one, sir.
Ah, but this one is for Mr. Henry Baker, whose own goose is at this moment trussed and prepared for Mr. Peterson's family.
Well, if you ask it, sir, it all seems a puzzle to me.
It's a bonny thing, Watson. See how it glints and sparkles. A beautiful gem.
Yes, indeed.
And like every good stone, this one is the nucleus and focus of crime. These are the devil's pet baits. In older and larger jewels, every facet may stand for a bloody deed. In spite of its youth, who would think that so pretty a toy as this has already been responsible for 2 murders, a suicide, a vitriol throwing, and several robberies?
Perhaps we'd best be rid of it. Are we to take it to Lady Morcar?
Not yet. As Mrs. Hudson so correctly observes, there is a puzzle here.
How did it get in the goose?
Precisely. I mean to find out.
Did I not read somewhere that Inspector Lestrade has already arrested someone for the theft of the blue carbuncle?
2 nights ago. The young workman who was doing some repair in Lady Morcar's dressing room.
Perhaps Baker's his accomplice.
We shall find that out when he answers my advertisement. And I shall determine his innocence by a very simple trick.
It might be those roughs who attacked him. They could be in on it. They could have been trying to get it away from him.
We cannot come to any conclusion yet, Watson. Yes, John Horner is the young man Lestrade arrested. He is awaiting trial at this very moment.
If it's all the same to you, Holmes, I think I'll go to bed. Clearly, Baker has not seen your advertisement.
Then someone will tell him of it in the morning. Come in. Ah, a visitor, Mrs. Hudson.
No, sir, a message for Dr. Watson.
Oh.
Really?
Yes, it's from the police, sir.
Oh? Some man has tried to hang himself at the local police station. I must go round at once. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
Guilty is as guilty does, sir. He's been in trouble before, and now this jewel robbery. Our master Horner hasn't got much to live for.
Horner?
The Countess of Marker's case, sir.
I seem to be dog-eyed.
Never did. God's my judge, I never did.
Take it carefully now, take it carefully. You're going to be all right. I must congratulate you, Sergeant, on your prompt rescue. He had no time to do himself any real harm.
Please, sir.